Have you ever witnessed a traffic jam so massive, so unexpected, that it brought one of the world's busiest cities to a complete standstill? Imagine this. 15,000 farmers, each one behind the wheel of a tractor, rolling into the heart of London. Their engines roar, their horns blare, and their message is impossible to ignore. This isn't your average Monday morning gridlock. This is a full-scale demonstration, a show of force from the people who feed the nation. Today, London became the unlikely stage for a rural rebellion. The city's iconic streets, usually filled with black cabs and double-decker buses, were instead choked with tractors of every size and color. From the break of dawn, convoys of farmers arrived, their vehicles forming an unbroken line that snaked through the city center. It was a sight that left commuters stunned and news cameras whirring. For many Londoners, it was the first time they'd seen the sheer scale of Britain's farming community up close. Before the first rays of sunlight touched the Thames, the protest was already in full swing. Tractors rumbled past the historic walls of Parliament, their headlights cutting through the morning mist. Banners flapped in the chilly breeze, some hand-painted, others professionally printed, but all carrying the same urgent message. Horns blared in unison, echoing off the stone facades of government buildings. The farmers weren't just making noise, they were making history. At the heart of this protest is a single, controversial issue: the so-called death tax. Officially, it's a new inheritance law, but to these farmers, it's a threat to their very existence. They say the law could force them to sell off their land that's been in their families for generations, sometimes centuries. For them, this isn't just about money. It's about heritage, tradition, and the survival of rural communities across the country. The protesters are quick to point out that they're not trying to dodge taxes or shirk their responsibilities. What they want is a fair deal, one that recognizes the unique challenges of farming. Unlike other businesses, a farm isn't just a collection of assets. It's a way of life, passed down from parent to child. For many here, the thought of losing that legacy is unthinkable. They're fighting not just for themselves, but for their children and grandchildren. The government, for its part, insists that the new law is aimed at the wealthiest estates. Ministers argue that only a tiny fraction of farms will be affected, and that most families have nothing to fear. But the farmers aren't convinced. They say the numbers don't add up. Land, they argue, isn't the same as cash in the bank. You can't pay a tax bill by plowing a spreadsheet or selling a tractor. For many, the only way to raise the money would be to sell off part or all of the family farm. As the city ground to a halt, tempers flared. Londoners stuck in traffic honked their horns in frustration, while others rolled down their windows to ask farmers what the protest was all about. Some offered words of support, others just wanted to get to work. But for the farmers, this was their moment to be heard. They explained again and again that this policy could force families to sell land that's been theirs for generations. The pain in their voices was real, and for many city dwellers, it was the first time they'd truly understood what was at stake. The signs said it all. Taxed out of existence. Save our farms. No farms, no food. Each placard told a story of struggle, resilience, and hope. Some were painted by children, others by elderly farmers who'd seen hard times before. But all shared a common fear, that the new law could spell the end of the family farm in Britain. The streets echoed with anger, frustration, and, let's be honest, a fair bit of classic British determination. There were chants, songs, and even a few tears. But above all, there was a sense of unity. Farmers from every corner of the country had come together, united by a common cause. They marched side by side, waving flags and sharing stories. For a few hours, the city belonged to them. So, where does this all end? Is this the beginning of a new era of protest, where rural voices demand to be heard in the corridors of power? Or is it just another traffic jam, soon to be forgotten as the city returns to normal? The answer isn't clear. What is clear is that these farmers aren't going away quietly. They've shown they're willing to fight for their future, no matter the cost. So, let's ask the question: what would you do if your family's legacy was on the line? Would you stand by and watch it slip away, or would you take to the streets, tractor and all, to defend it? For these farmers, the answer is clear. They're fighting not just for themselves, but for the future of British farming, and in a way, for all of us who depend on the food they grow. The battle over the death tax is far from over. But today, at least, the farmers made their voices heard, loud and clear, in the heart of the capital.